the second annual Fins TV Awards. Here are your hosts, Sarney and Steve Halleck.
Hey, welcome to Phinatic. And as always, my co-host Steve, as always, still with an adventure here on Fins TV. But it's the second round of Fins TV Awards, Steve.
Sammy, how you doing, buddy? It is great to be here with you. Looking forward to the second annual Fins TV Awards. And as always, you look incredibly sharp. You'll always have to live up to that standard of your promo or whatever it was when you had the Mustang and you were driving and everything. But this is a close second, my man. I'm loving it.
This is a sequel. The sequel's never as good as the first one. So, that's what always happens. Well, Steve, we're going to celebrate the 2024-2025 season with the Fins TV Awards. We're going to see who's the Dolphins MVP for the season. But let's start right away with which the Fins TV crew picked as the Game of the Year.
Fuck it, send it in.
The Fins TV Game of the Year Award.
Hey, let's turn up tonight, fellas. Let's go. Prime time, baby. I love it. Let's go. We don't do what you do.
Protection breaks down. Tagovailoa looking for somewhere. Wide open is Waddle. Here is a toss. And on the run into the end zone, diving Malik Washington for the touchdown. Rams offense hasn't done anything yet. And a sack on top of it all. Chop Robinson. Good protection. That's tipped and picked. Intercepted and back the other way. Here is a toss to Achane. Left side. Nice spin. Rams 0 for 3 on third down. They're 0 for 4. A sack by Campbell. High snap. Stafford just able to get back on it. And down he goes as Jordan Brooks. 4 straight third down stops. Not here. Jonnu Smith. Still rolling. Still rolling. Still rolling.
Well, Steve, the Rams game, Dolphins win as a team with a record, won the Game of the Year as picked by you. Steve had it, Sherry had it, and Mr. Perfect Man on the Fins TV. What are your thoughts about that? Game of the Year.
Okay, so I will admit this was not my vote, but in talking with my better half, who will be joined with here in just a moment, she had some very compelling points, and because of that, I'm not going to steal her thunder, but they're very strong points. I have my rationale for my vote, but it was a very impressive win. Your highlight, the background music, as always. I could say this through every podcast of ours. Incredible. I love seeing the highlights. It brings back great memories from a season that wasn't so great, But fantastic pick to have that as the one.
Absolutely. So by now you know how well they voted because Steve just said it. So let's welcome the Fins TV crew of Mr. Perfect, my Armstrong, and the lovely Sherry Hatter. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Well, this was your vote, as Steve said. You both voted for the Rams game for the Game of the Year. I want to start with Sherry. Sherry, what are your thoughts about that?
First of all, great vote, Matt. I love it.
Huge shock that the two of you agreed on this.
I know, right? Well, the brain power of the operation got together and decided that the Rams game should be the Game of the Year. Mainly for me, because we talked so much this season about beating narratives, and I know this wasn't a cold weather game, but one of the big things hanging over our head was that we can't perform in a primetime game with a national audience, and I'm sorry, but boy did we perform. And like Steve said, just to echo that, watching the highlights, I sat there nodding the whole time going, yep, that's why I picked this game. That's why I picked this game, because it was a complete game, which we didn't get a lot of this year, in my opinion. So to go in on a national televised game and prime time and come away with a very decisive win when you look at the highlights, when you look at just the way we were on both sides of the ball, a complete package. There was no other game to vote for, in my opinion. So that is why I went with the Rams game, and I'm glad that it won. We also watched it with a very dear friend of ours, so we weren't paying as close attention as we should have been, but I still got enough of it to know that it was going to get my vote.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, it was your pick for the game of the year, the Dolphins victory with the Rams. Dolphins victory over Team over 500. So I want to know your thoughts about the game of the year, the Dolphins win over the Rams.
That was a fun game. It was fun because it was probably the only game of the year that we were able to see the Dolphins play like we knew they could. They had the Tua was there, playing like himself. The defense was playing, and we weren't playing some chump team. We were playing the Rams, and the Rams have a good ball club. They experienced some troubles this past season as well, but the fact that we were able to really stick it to them gave us hope at that point of the season. There was hope that we could be more, we could be better, we could be what we thought the Dolphins could be. It was my choice because I feel like it was really the most obvious game of all the schedule to be game of the year.
Clearly, it wasn't that obvious, but I'll agree with you here, Matt. As always, a very compelling argument from you.
Say that again.
I said it was extreme. I agree with you. That's all I'll say. I don't agree, but for now,
I don't care. You said it.
He said it wasn't obvious. I thought it was obvious too, Matt.
The entire world heard you say that you agree with me.
Can't take it back.
Very early in an episode, which is rare.
I'm up 1-0.
Absolutely. So guys, we'll see you later for another award. So let's go straight because in the lobby we have our friends from the next awards. So let's go straight to the Rookie of the Year award. We'll have a full house in the Festival Award, so we're going to welcome Sean Stanley of Stanley Media House and Square Circle Dias, our friend Frankie Frezko, the Let Me Talk to You pod, and making his return to the Fins TV, our friend, the controversial Eddie Chaput. Good evening, guys.
Good evening,
Eddie.
What
Good to see you again, man. Happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, happy Christmas, happy New Year.
Same to you,
Mr. Slender. Mr. Slender. Well, guys, the Rookie of the Year award. Chris Greer had a lot of criticism, but he might have hit on some of these three candidates for Rookie of the Year. Let's go straight to the nominees and let's talk about it. Let's talk about who you guys think is gonna win the Rookie of the Year award.
Let me talk to you.
Oh, yeah!
The Fins TV Rookie of the Year Award. Here are the nominees.
Patrick Paul. That kid is special.
They're coming on. Here comes Robinson. Down he goes. Hit by Steeler.
I'm an animal, right? I'm an animal,
Tarpon in for a little bit until he... Look at the chop. Look at the chop from Job Robinson. Here is a toss. And on the run into the end zone, diving Malik Washington. No timeouts. This will be taken. And Malik Washington weaving his way, finding a gap, runs into cross and runs over, could track him. Then finally brought down by their own converse.
all the criticism Chris Gear gets every single year, he probably hit on 3 of those picks. I know, I want to start with the controversial of the Chaput very quickly and go to our fellow panelists because I know they have a show at 8 p.m. the Square Circle Diocese tonight, so I want to let them go as we talked. So, but I'm going to start with Steve. I'm sorry, I'm going to start with Eddie. Eddie, you were very high on Chop Robinson coming out of college, but I want your thoughts about the whole rookie class of who you think is going to win that rookie of the year.
It should be Chop. I was high on him, a lot higher than most people. I did a lot of work on last year's draft. He was one of 5 guys I liked. I liked Chop, Cooper DeJean, Xavier Worthy, Jared Verse, and somebody else. I can't think. Graham Barton. But Chop definitely should win it. Patrick Paul had a decent season. I don't know what happened with Jaylan Wright. I don't know why we traded a third to get him, but that's a different day. But Chop had a great season. He's 22 years old, and he has nothing but room for improvement.
So let's go straight to see who won the rookie of the year. All right?
Let me talk to you. Oh, yeah.
The Fins.
It's Chap Robinson. That was an unanimous choice. Chap Robinson got every single vote of the panel, so I want to go to Sean. Sean, Chap Robinson, the rookie of the year. It seems like he has going to have a bright future.
Yeah, especially with the fact that he had really not a lot of help this year, and it's back as a rookie. Those numbers were impressive, and again, you got to see more of Chop because of the deficiencies of the pass rush because of the injuries and everything else. To where I think Malik Washington had spurts of, that glimpse of when you look at a player and you're like, okay, he could have something. And Patrick Paul didn't get enough thing. Just Chop, to me, play in, play out when he was on the field, was making plays.
Absolutely. Frankie, Chap Robinson, rookie of the year. What are your thoughts? He basically, was an all rookie team, so he was a very good fit for the Dolphins.
Yeah, man, he actually did more than what I ever thought he was going to do. We needed him to step up, and he eventually did. I mean, he had 26 combined tackles. He had 6 sacks in the season. At one point in time, we were comparing him to Jaelan Phillips, his rookie year. And when you look at Jaelan Phillips and what he brought, he had some decent close numbers with him. I mean, he had 14 QB hits. Jaelan Phillips had 16 his rookie year. You had 26 combo hits on Chop Robinson. Jaelan Phillips had 23. And then assists, it was 10 to 19. So it was very, very similar. And you guys know that we're big fans of Jaelan Phillips as well. So the future looks bright. I think this kid is the real deal. And I think that's the reason why we're going to stick with him. And we might get rid of Bradley Chubb. So
that might happen. Steve, what are your thoughts on Chap Robinson? That's rookie of the year. Unanimous choice, by the way.
Oh, I'm not surprised that it was unanimous at all. I mean, he flashed. And to Sean's point, he had the most opportunity. I mean, let's be honest here. We should be happy that Patrick Paul didn't see the field that much because that means that Teron Armstead exceeded any of our expectations and played a lot more this year than what we thought he was going to. So would have been great to see more of him on the field, but I'm not upset because we got a lot more of, one of our team's best leaders and veteran presences that we have. Malik Washington, frankly, he is the reason we didn't lose both games to the New York Jets this year. I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. People are screaming to have Jarvis Landry back here. I think in him, we have a Jarvis Landry type hands and drive, but with speed. And I think that's what we're going to see. The future is bright with him, but Chop Robinson, can't say enough. He stepped up and actually developed and showed more throughout the year. And it was a fantastic rookie campaign for him.
Absolutely. Eddie, during our War Room, Dolphins TV War Room special, we were pounding the table for Chap Robinson or Jared Verse. Chap Robinson made the all-rookie team, so you were always very hard on him. So I want to know your thoughts about that great pick, Chris Reamer on Chap Robinson.
I'm kind of happy that Verse went right before because I think that Chop Robinson has a way bigger upside than Jared Verse. I think Jared Verse is what you're going to get right now is what you're going to get through his career. Like I said before, Chop is 22. They can move him anywhere. They can rush him from the middle, from the end. He's got to work on setting the edge a little. He got burnt a couple times on that edge, but other than that, I think he's going to be special, especially when somebody lines up on that other side that's there for a full year. It Jaylan Phillips or somebody else. They definitely have a future with him.
Absolutely. So basically, it wasn't an honest choice. There wasn't too much competition. The jury is out on the other part, the guys who were nominated. But Chaput for sure has a bright future for the Dolphins. All rookie team for the NFL. So that was a very good fit for the Dolphins. Guys, I want to thank you. You guys, please tell us we have a show tonight at 8 p.m. I like to see our shows our cousins because we should be on the same time. So please plug your show, plug your handles. Sean, what about you? Talk about your show.
Yeah, you can check me out at Stanley Media House Network on YouTube. We got the Squared Circle Digest, which will be starting here momentarily. And we talk a lot of wrestling, however you want to call it. We got NASCAR starting up this week with the Daytona 500. And coming in the second half of the NBA season, Sports Talk coming to Stanley Media House Network at Stanley_Media11 on X.
How about you, Frankie? You're everywhere. You're always busy. You're always working. How about you? Let me
Yeah.
talk to you about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Same thing with Sean. We do the Squared Circle Digest usually at 7 o'clock, but obviously we're guests tonight in your show, so starting a little bit late tonight. But yeah, you could tune in every Tuesday, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock tonight. And then obviously, let me talk to you. Me and my brother do the podcast. We're eventually going to bring it back. We're thinking about bringing it back next month. And that show runs on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock.
Or Eddie, I'm trying to see if Eddie is up to it. We have next week's on the Phinside TV post-game show. Let me see if Eddie is up to it. He said yes, hopefully by that time.
I'm up for it.
That's awesome. So we're going to have the Phinside TV post-game show after every single Dolphins game next season. And Steve,
No.
it wasn't a close vote. It was a unanimous vote for Chop Robinson, but I think it was a correct choice.
I'm happy that we have a Chop Robinson. I don't care if it was unanimous or not. I'm happy that we have him. Sean, Frankie, great meeting you guys. Keep up the great work. Thanks for making us your podcast of the year in that one episode, which did not go unnoticed.
Thank you, Frankie.
And
Sorry,
Eddie,
Sean.
it's good seeing you, buddy. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy. Stay well. See you again
too.
soon, all right?
Say hi to that, Eddie. Thank you, guys.
You got it.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Good up, gentlemen.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
So next, we're gonna go to the who won the Don't Shoot Leadership Award. So we want to welcome our friend, basically honorary Phinside TV crew member, our friend Adrian Rainey from the Rainy Day Pod, of course the Phinside TV crew of Mr. Perfect, Master, and Sherry Haddon, and Steve.
Hi, Adrian.
Well,
Hey, Adrian.
What's up? How y'all doing?
How you doing, Adrian? How's everything?
Doing good, man. How about y'all? Good to see
You're
y'all.
killing it on the Rainy
Good
Day
looking as
Pod.
always, man. I've got the over-under set at your F-bomb, so let's go.
How many?
That's
As many as it takes.
Secret.
That's not the big finish. We don't have a big finish today, so let's try to keep it. Try to keep it clean over here. So it's a leadership award, the social leadership award. Basically, it's the player who shows embodies the leadership qualities of for the Dolphins. So let's go straight to what we're running a little bit late. So let's go straight to who are the nominees for the Don Shula Leadership Award.
I said, are you
The Phinside Leadership Award. Honoring Coach Don Shula. Here are the nominees.
I'm on that type of time. 6 9 1 2 3.
We still on? Family on three. 1, 2, 3. Family.
Darren Armstead.
Great day to be a Miami Dolphin. It's a great day to be a Miami Dolphin. For what he does. That big and that fast. The most important game of our life. Yeah. Only because it's the next one. It's all about us. Let's fly around. Let's hit somebody in the snow. And let's start to the finish.
Tagovailoa at quarterback today for the Dolphins. Third and goal. Dolphins trying to punch it in into his return.
Let's run up today, fellas. Let's go. Prime time, baby. I love it.
Here's another opportunity.
Well, basically, the leadership award is the player who embodies what being a leader is. Last year, the winner of the leadership award was Christian Wilkins. This year, two of the nominees are probably might lead the Dolphins. The Toronto Armstead, I think, since he's gonna come back next year, but he might say he might retire, so we'll have to follow on that. And of course, Calais Campbell, who was a huge pickup for the Dolphins, a great leader for the Dolphins this year. So the leadership boy in the Dolphins could be a huge problem looking forward next season. But I want to start with you, Steve. What are your thoughts about the nominees for the leadership award for the 2024-2025 season?
We hit the nail on the head. Two of those that going into this season, we had a feeling we talked about needing that veteran leadership presence, and we always knew that Teron Armstead, whether on the field or off the field, he was that person. And getting Calais Campbell, he was everything and more that I wanted him to be, a lot more than I expected him to get on the field, and exactly what we had hoped to get from him as a leader. And leadership is a big thing for me in my life, and I know Matt, fellow Air Force veteran. I always say that there's a huge difference between management and leadership, and you can manage all you want, but just being in a management position doesn't make you a leader. And both Teron Armstead, and I'm not leaving two out of this, but I'm not mentioning him here, but they embodied that. They rolled their sleeves up. They got the job done. They did what they needed to. And very impressive season for both of them, and extremely deserving of the nomination for this.
Absolutely. Matt, like Steve said, you're both huge. We talked about it so many times about the leadership board sometimes of the Dolphins, and we talked so many conversations tonight on Fins TV about the importance of leadership and how big leadership is for you during your life, during your formation, and all everything that makes you the person you are. So, what are your thoughts on the importance of leadership on the Miami Dolphins past season and looking forward for the Dolphins?
Yeah, thank you, Sammy. Just like Steve said, there's a difference between leadership and management, and that difference is obvious to anybody. Many times, the second you meet somebody, not everybody has leadership skill or leadership genes. They make movies about clowns who are in leadership positions, but they're really just upper management. And I got to tell you, the irony of who my vote was for, it wasn't that long ago that we were on pins and needles hoping that Ryan Tannehill would be the guy to take us to the playoffs and take us to great heights. He was that quarterback that we hadn't had since Chad Pennington or since 13 was there. And the irony is this past season, we hoped beyond hope that Calais Campbell would stay healthy because we knew if he was on the field, we had a fighting chance, right? The Dolphins had a fighting chance. And the irony to me in that same guy ended Tannehill's season so long ago, and then you fast forward to the 2024 season and you find yourself rooting for that same guy. What we hated, and I say we, I'm talking about myself, what I hated about that guy so many years ago was that's the guy that ruined a promising season for us. And now here we are getting full blast. This guy is a leader. This guy, you feel like you want to run through your TV when you see him on the sideline hyping up his teammates, when you see him making play after play after play at the age of 38, whatever age he is. That's incredible to me. And that's something that it's not teachable. It's not something that you learn in a school. It's not something that you you absorb because you're around other people who have that leadership gene. You either have it or you don't. And the teams that he's played for, including the Miami Dolphins, are incredibly lucky to have had Calais Campbell. If he comes back, great. I want him to come back if he can stay at that same level. If he can't, I wish him the best, and I'm thankful that he was a Dolphin.
Absolutely. Sherry, we talked so many times on Fins TV again about the importance of leadership and how this team have been called soft. And this week, Teron Armstead said he took offense to being labeled as soft on any team he's been. But the importance of leadership is clue for the Dolphins. Again, the award is in honor of Don Shula. When you think of the ultimate leader, for me, is Don Shula. His character. I know you have very fond memories of Don Shula. What are your thoughts about that? Well, the candidates and about the whole spirit of leadership and the lack of thereof sometimes of the Dolphins this year.
In listening to Steve and Matt talk, I feel like we've already announced who won the leadership award. And if this person didn't win, then it's odd that we were spending so much time talking about Calais Campbell because I'll tell you, that was my vote. And when I'm looking at who's leading on the field, obviously you're looking for someone who's going to hype up the team. You're looking for somebody who's going to go out there and set an example. But I'm also looking for somebody who is making decisions based on what's best for the good of the team. That is why I did not vote for Tua, because I don't think sliding head first into a defender when you know without you on the team is dead. To me, that made me not even think about voting for Tua, because a leader makes sure they're there to fight another day with their team. They don't put themselves ahead of the better good. Jonnu Smith said that Calais Campbell was the best leader he's ever worked with. And this year, Jonnu has earned my respect immensely. And maybe that's what's pushing some of these guys to go that extra mile, to have that extra push. He, on and off the field, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I haven't heard any scandals with Calais Campbell. I haven't heard anything terrible about Calais Campbell. From what I understand, he conducts himself as a leader on and off the field, and that's what I'm looking for. I don't want someone who's just going to go out there and scream at the guys and get them worked up. I mean, that could be Little League coach, and not taking down Little League coaches, but that doesn't mean they're a great coach just because you get people screaming. He seems to have a calming effect. He seems to have a hyping effect. I think that depending upon what is needed at the moment, he has shown me that he's there to provide it. And that is why my vote went to Calais Campbell. If he did not win, then I'm so sorry, because I've added to the pile of Calais Campbell fondness, but I couldn't vote for anyone else. I had my issues for Teron Armstead, obviously my big issues with Tua, and I don't dislike Tua. I just didn't find him to be a leader this year. So I'm all in on Calais Campbell.
So let's see who won the vote. I think it's time for us to know who won. So it's Calais Campbell.
Surprise!
Calais Campbell, what a shocker! Calais with an unanimous vote for the leadership award. so everybody's so relieved. Adrian, again, Calais Campbell, his leadership was felt this year. Probably one of the reasons this thing didn't go the cliff, if you ask me, because the season was going sideways and his leadership was felt as a leader, as a player, all the way through. So what are your thoughts on Calais Campbell, the Fins TV Don Shula leadership award for the 2024-2025 season?
I think it's the right choice. Absolute dog. We need a few more of those on the team. But, I mean, the defense, we already know the defense wasn't the problem this year. It was mostly the offense. And defense did have their struggles. But Calais Campbell, unanimous, like you said. I think everybody would have voted for him on this panel and, throughout the fan base. So, but yeah, man, he's been a dog everywhere he's been, man, from the U to the teams he's been at in the NFL. So, I mean, by far. But I would say this about Teron Armstead. He did have that injury, the knee injury. He had like a shoulder or something else throughout most of the year, and he played most of the games.
Through it.
I'll give it to him, and that's what leaders do too. So, shout out Teron Armstead, but Calais Campbell definitely deserves this.
Absolutely. Last year was Christian Wilkin was the winner of the leadership award. So, Steve, I want to know your thoughts on Calais Campbell, the leadership award winner of his 2024-2025 season.
I think that the post-game comments in a side-by-side contrast between what Tyreek Hill did, and he got all the press and everything else because everybody loves the controversy, but the contrast between what Tyreek Hill put out there in the sound bites and what Calais Campbell did, which he got no airtime, very, very low. I even tried to find it later that day and I couldn't find it. It was huge. Whereas one person was me, I'm out the door. And Calais Campbell spoke to the experience, spoke to how the promise that they had that season and that it was unfortunate, but it's that type of leadership where you're lifting everybody else up around you. And I think what's unfortunate for when we got Calais Campbell on this team is as much of a leader as he is and how much he lifted those up around him, it wasn't enough to offset what I think is the biggest blame for this season is the cultural deficiencies that allowed lack of leadership and lack of accountability to really build up through those locker rooms and overcome those deficiencies. And a couple people have said it. We don't know if we're going to see Calais Campbell back in the aqua and orange next year. If he doesn't come back and he still plays, frankly, I don't blame him. Go chase a championship. But, get that in your resume. But if he does come back, Miami's going to be extremely lucky. And if he decides to retire, I'm glad that Miami had the chance to experience a year with Calais Campbell as our leader.
He's the kind of player that sometimes he joins the Dolphins and you say, where you been all my life? If we had 10 Calais Campbells, we probably won a Super Bowl by now. So.
Well, I hope since Christian was our leadership award winner last year, that Calais does not go the same route and we are not the Madden curse of leadership award winners, because I really would like to see him back again next year.
If that happens, we're going to start to think very, very hard to see who's going to be the nominee.
We're going to have to change our tact on how we choose
the Tyreek Hill Leadership Award.
We want to go.
I know some of you are going to nominate Chris Greer for the Leadership Award that way. It's going to happen. But again, leadership is very, very important. The lack of leadership shows at times during this season. I know, Steve, we're going to talk a lot more about leadership in some kind of way during our feature on mcdaniel and Tyreek Hill and the Spurs of the Dolphins. But leadership is key for the Dolphins. We heard some DOPY players talking about we need more dogs on the locker room. It is kind of true, but when you see it around Armstead, when you see at Brooks, when you see Armstead, Calais, you have some dogs. The lack of dogs are there. What's wrong with
We've also got a lot of hurt dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Phillips and Chubb out. I mean, that's serious presence on the defense that isn't there right now.
I think he was talking about the offense, to be honest.
Oh, sorry.
That's what I thought he was talking about. I thought he was talking about the offense the whole time. We need more dogs on the offense. The defense wasn't the problem.
We have dogs, but some of them are chihuahuas. They're a lot loud. They don't bite. Man, any last thoughts about the leadership award for Phinside 2024-2025 season?
Am I getting the leadership award for Fins TV?
Of course, because you're so convincing.
Yes, finally. I get the respect that I'm due. And by the way, does anybody on this panel think that Adrian should be voicing Pixar movies and
Pixar?
Dude's
With the way I talk?
Dude's got high. He can be. You can be, dude. I've got an agent. I'll put you in touch with.
Some voiceovers. I got you.
There you go.
Absolutely. Adrian, we want to thank you for joining us always. Where they can find you on the Rainy Day Pod?
YouTube at Rainy Day Pod and all socials at Rainy Day Pod. We do a show every Saturday around 8 o'clock. All right.
Good to see you.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Good seeing you, Adrian.
Good seeing you. Cover the Miami Heat. You'll have a lot to talk about lately. So
cool. Always. Yeah. All right, y'all.
Adrian, again, we want to thank you as always. We want to see you. Hopefully, we'll see you next month for our free agency. Free agency special. So we're counting on you for that.
Of course, man. I'll be here.
See you later, my brother. Thank you.
All right, y'all.
Brother.
time for the Offensive Player of the Year award, and we want to welcome Brittney of the Silent Teapot. Our first appearance on Fizz TV. We want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And friend of the show, Jake Mendel is a regular on the show by now. So, of course, Steve Hallett. I call it Steve Hallett.
Jake, great to see you again. Brittney, nice to meet you.
You too.
What a squad to be a part of.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sammy.
No, that's good. That's fine. Defensive Player of the Year award. If I told you at the beginning of the season that Tyreek Hill, Jaylan Waddle, and Raheem Mostert will not be nominees for the Offensive Player of the Year, Brittney, what would have been your thoughts?
You're lying. You're a liar. That's what my thought would be. There's no way that I don't think anybody could have predicted Tyreek, especially having the season or lack thereof.
Yeah, it was a very, very, very weird season. Jake, same question to you. The usual suspects, Tyreek Hill, Jaylan Waddle, and Raheem Mostert, were nowhere to be found this year as a contender for Offensive Player of the Year. But it was that kind of weird season. What are your thoughts on the kind of season the offense had last season?
You nailed it. It was very weird. I look back to the conference championship round, and 3 of the 4 teams rushed for 135 yards in that round. And one of the biggest issues we felt the Dolphins had is the inability to run the football. Well, in the 6 games, they rushed for 135 yards. They won 2 of them. That just speaks to how weird the idea of the 2024 Miami Dolphins were. Sammy, I want to ask you before we get into this, who won last year Offensive Player of the Year for you guys?
I'll tell you right now. I have it right here.
Sorry,
put you
on the spot.
What's Tyreek Hill?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
How things have changed lately.
Ay.
Tyreek with that run last year for 2,000 yards. The whole team went behind that search for 2,000 yards. He certainly had an effect on the team. Maybe not the positive effect we were hoping, but he won 31 Offensive Player of the Year for the Dolphins. So it is what it is.
Last year was well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. He should have been the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Steve, what are your thoughts? If I told you that Tyreek Hill will be nowhere to be found as a Offensive Player of the Year, nor Jaylan Waddle, what would you bring your thoughts? Nor Raheem Mostert, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just it was a full 180 turn from where we were last year. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of reasons why it happened, but I'd like to say that it was because defenses figured us out and the person calling the plays, designing the offense just couldn't figure it out. But it was a combination of a lot of different factors. And if you go back, pull the receipts from our first, episodes of the season before regular season even hit, we were probably all counting on 1,500 plus yards from Tyreek, well over 1,000 or close to a little bit over 1,000 for Waddle. And what reason did we have to think that Raheem Mostert would be relegated to 1 or 2 carries a game? So it was an extremely weird year. I'll admit it wasn't a fun one as a fan because I love offense. And we just didn't get to see that. So I'm happy for who I voted for, but there were some deserving people. But as a unit, as a whole, it was definitely not what we expected. And these are definitely not the candidates I thought we were going to be voting on.
Absolutely. So let me look over here. And yes, let's see who are the nominees for Offensive Player of the Year.
I feel the need for speed.
The Phinatic the Offensive Player of the Year award. Here are the nominees.
The backfield, Achane into the end zone. That ball snaps. Achane explodes inside the 25, spins inside the 20, stiff arm to the 10. Give it to Achane, running left. He's got blockers, untouched into the end zone. They go to Smith, he's got it. Touchdown Dolphins. Opening drive score for the Dolphins. Throws on the back leg, middle of the field. John Smith wide open. He's in. Touchdown Dolphins. the 40-yard line. Going to the near sideline. Tagovailoa with a missing touchdown. The opening drive they wanted here in South Florida.
Well, all nominees they have one thing in common. They had great stretch during the season, but none of them had a complete package for the season. Of course, Tua got hurt, and once he returned, he had a great moments during the season, but then again got hurt. Again, John Smith started picking up during mid-season, but he had some great moments, but it wasn't a deciding factor. Probably maybe one or two games we had some crucial. Anyway, Achane, of course, he still found a way to stay healthy this season, but it was kind of weird the way the Dolphins started using it. They just started using like he was Jerome Bettis or something, right between the tackles, getting a pounding. It was surprising to me he did get hurt. So I want to start with Jake. Jake, what are your thoughts on the three nominees for Offensive Player of the Year for the Dolphins?
Yeah, so we knew Devon Achane's rookie season is 7.8 yards per carry. We knew that wasn't sustainable. But Sammy, you mentioned he didn't get hurt. Despite the fact his workload doubled and he led the Dolphins 907 rushing yards, 4.5 yards per carry. That's not that bad. And that's with the fact that Achane averaged 0.24 yards before contact. This was an offense that was doing him no favors, and despite that fact, he took over a backfield that included the NFL's reigning rushing touchdown leader in Raheem Mostert and a fourth-round pick that the Dolphins thought so highly of, they spent the third-round pick on him. So on top of all that for Achane, for me specifically, 200 carries, awesome running back, but he also caught 78 passes on 89 targets in an offense that includes Jaylan Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Tua completed 291 passes. Devon Achane touched the ball nearly 290 times. It is actually insane how much the team used this guy.
Yeah, they pounded into the ground. I was really worried at times though. He kept running through the wall, but backwards every time he ran into the defensive Dolphins offensive line. Brittney, again, those nominees, they all had their stretch. Devon Achane had a very nice season. John Smith was a great pickup for the Dolphins, and Tua had his moments that he even has some mentions during the season, maybe being an MVP candidate. But again, he got hurt, and it is what it is. What are your thoughts about the nominees for the Offensive Player of the Year for the Dolphins?
So I'll tell you who I voted for after this, but I'm always going to be Tua's biggest fan. I love him. He was not my vote for this. I think that all the crazy stats he does have, none of that matters if he's not on the field. So that's why he didn't get my vote for this. Doesn't mean I don't believe in him. I do. We just need to keep him healthy. I think that he found his man in Jonnu. It seemed that whenever we needed something to happen, he had that trust in Jonnu, and I think they have a really good connection there. But Devon Achane, he got my vote, and you just can't deny him. I'm going to knock on wood. I want everyone else to knock on wood, but he hasn't dropped a ball since like college, and he just has fantastic hands. We didn't do him any favors by not addressing the offensive line. I do believe that he could have had much better numbers rushing if we had some better guards opening up some gaps for him. But hopefully we fix it in the off season, and he just keeps doing great things.
Absolutely. Steve, again, it is what it is. The Dolphins offense, we have so many expectations for the Dolphins offense, but the Dolphins offense regressed during that season. None of the three candidates had, but you could say a complete season. They had their moments. They had some stretches when they said, wow, they might be picking up, but again, something happened. They fell backwards. So I want your thoughts about the nominees for the Offensive Player of the Year award.
Well, first of all, I want to say that I imagine that the voting was probably about as split as the comment section on YouTube. It's kind of going crazy with people justifying their vote. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, giving your input, chatting it up. It's almost like you guys aren't listening to us. You're talking amongst yourselves, so have fun with that. And I really think that anytime you have a season offensively like we did last year, we put up 70 points in one game. And that was Devon Achane's coming out party where we're like, damn, that was what I wanted to see when he got picked out of Texas A&M. And you have to know that we're going to have letdowns, but we wouldn't expect that we would have a season of that flipping around and really not having that identity. So, Brittney, you brought up a great point. Tua did develop that chemistry with Jonnu, and it was fantastic. Unfortunately, it just came, I think, too late in the season. It would have been great to see that earlier so they could build upon it some more, Tua not get hurt. So, they lose that chemistry. And it's possible that those games that Tua missed set back that development timeline. Tua hit the nail on the head. When he's good, he's good. When he's off, he's just off. And when he's not on the field, he's of no use to our offense at all. And it's really unfortunate. So Devon Achane, really, truly, Jake, you hit the nail on the head with those stats. I mean, if you look at what he did, the amount of contributions that he gave to us, the amount of touchdowns that he scored, he's dynamic. We've got to find that outside zone rush again because that's where he excels. You fit in a Jerome Bettis, the bus, into this segment here to talk about how McDaniel started to use him. He's not that guy. Stop using him that way. Keep using him in that passing game. Devon Achane definitely got my vote this year.
Absolutely. And Devon Achane is the winner of the Offensive Player of the Year award. It was a split vote. It wasn't an unanimous vote, but he won by, I think 100% right here. He got 71% of the vote. So
okay,
so
all right.
It was pretty good. Brittney, what are your thoughts on the winner of the Offensive Player of the Year?
I mean, that's where my vote went. Yeah. So obviously, I'm okay with that. I also wouldn't have mind Jonnu getting that because I love him, and I'm just, I'm a fan of his.
How about you, Jake? What are your thoughts about the winner of the Offensive Player of the Year award, Devon Achane?
The first player in franchise history to have 6 rushing touchdowns and 6 receiving touchdowns in a season. As someone who grew up with someone like Reggie Bush as the star, the elite playmaker, I think, and I mean no disrespect by this, I think Devon Achane's who we all thought Reggie Bush was going to be. Just seeing this dude running routes and just being this absolute playmaker is so special to watch. And Jonnu Smith deserves so much credit. He stepped up. He had game-winning plays when you had backup quarterbacks win as well. The only difference, I think, Jonnu Smith is the difference to have a successful offense. Devon Achane's the difference in being able to score 70 points in a game. That's kind of my deciding factor there for giving it to Achane.
That's a great point. And Jonnu Smith broke some Dolphins records, so he had a really good had a great season. Steve, what are your thoughts? Devon Achane, the Offensive Player of the Year for the
extremely deserving, but Jake, thank you for reminding me how old I am and throwing in, I grew up watching Reggie Bush as my running back. Seriously, mute. Some other show you hit the mute button. So, Jonnu Smith, to everybody's point here, he is everything that we hoped he was going to be this year for us as a tight end. It's what we've been screaming for. We've needed that. He set records at that position, and it wasn't junk yardage. He gave us that yards after catch. He gave us those dependable hands and that drive. And frankly, for an offensive, I think he was our offensive leader. All due respect to Teron Armstead, he got the nod for that side of the ball. But Jonnu Smith really went out there. He stepped up. He showed up. He talked the talk. He walked the walk. And frankly, he didn't talk that much. He just let his play on the field show up. But Devon Achane, seriously, hopefully sky's the limit. They really need to find some way to spell him, get a bigger running back, find a way to use Jaylan right. But it's really great to see, again, Devon Achane be who I hoped he was going to be after seeing how he was in college. So, absolutely deserving.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're going to go to the feature. We'll talk about McDaniel and Tyreek and the whole set of Dolphins. But before we go, Brittney, I want you to tell people where they can find you on social media, everything you do right.
You can find me. Did you say where they can find me on socials? Is that what you said? You can find me on Twitter at BrittBaby with an I. We have our podcast, Sideline T Podcast. You can find us there on YouTube. Me and Mary will be coming back in the off season. We already have some really cool guests lined up, so I'm excited for you guys.
That's something. Jake,
thanks for joining us.
As always, you're doing a great job with House. I love the podcast. So for Odyssey and WQAM, where they can find you on social media, you and your partner.
Yeah, J Mendel 31, and you mentioned another Dolphins podcast and the Phinside if you want to read stuff. I don't know if people still read, but if you want to read, try out the Phinside.
We're all on Twitter, right?
Absolutely love your YouTube features, everything you and how it's put up there. You have some great consistent guests. You're always good for a laugh, but some addressing the tough topics and doing it with a lot of factual background. So, Jake, I really appreciate what you and how it's put out there every week.
Means the world. Thank you, guys.
Last year, doing the Finside Awards after the show, I thought to Steve, I said, how important was that to have the inclusion of the female fan base? The female fan base of the Dolphins is huge. They're so knowledgeable, so they're great fans. And when I started thinking of who can represent the ladies of Dolphins Nation well, I thought of Brittney. I asked Brittney to join us for the show, so I'm really grateful for you to get it.
Thank you so much.
To come back next time, sometime.
Absolutely.
So, next, we're gonna go to our featured panel on Mike McDaniel, Tyreek, and the Miami Dolphins.
Hoping that he has his fourth of the day right here.
I mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here or that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like I'm out, bro. You know, so it was great playing here, but you know, at the end of the day, bro, I got to do what's best for, you know, for my career and, you know, what's best. Because I'm too much of a competitor to be, you know, just out there.
Mean you thinking about leaving here?
If it is, hey, yes.
The talk around the Dolphins organization is Tyreek Hill, you know what I'm saying? That he wants to trade this offseason and also even taking himself out of the Jets game. Now, head coach McDaniel says simply, Tyreek knows that those actions are unacceptable. 8-9 was not the finish that anyone on the Dolphins roster or staff expected to finish after the season.
Disappointed, 8-9. It's not the standard here. It hasn't been and it won't be.
This statement was backed by head coach McDaniel, who admitted he had a lot to learn from this season. Even during Monday's players' exit meeting, several players expressed their concerns over the struggles this season.
Finding guys didn't particularly move the needle in the way we need to, so I'll adjust as I should as the head coach.
Coach admits he's fined several players this season for being late, but he didn't say if Tyreek Hill was fined for his actions on Sunday. But he says the two spoke for an hour at Monday's exit meeting.
I was very direct with him. He was very honest, and it's not acceptable to leave the game and won't be tolerated in the future. And he embraced accountability.
Tyreek wasn't the only player taking accountability during the exit meetings. McDaniel and Greer said that they both spoke with Tua Tagovailoa and praised him for his growth this season, but also spoke to him about his availability.
You're going to get hit at times. It's always going to happen, but he needs to control what he can control. He understands that not being available for taking chances and risks is unacceptable to us, and he knows that.
Now, going into this offseason, Greer says it's simple. He's going to focus on the offensive line and finding a reliable backup quarterback.
Will you talk to Tua about it? How does he figure into all of this that's going on?
You know, Tua, he's my guy. Always will be my guy, no matter what, man. Like, and I'm sure, like, he understands my frustration. Like, we all want to win. Tua, he's another competitor. He's a hell of a competitor. A lot of people don't know that. He's a winner. He's consistent. So I'm looking forward to, you know, just us continuing to build our relationship, man, even more.
I love it.
And this is my public apology.
I love that this is important. Is that what that is? Please.
This is my public apology to you, Tua. I love you, bro.
Well, still, if I didn't know Tyreek Hill was a Gator with those so many crocodile tears, but anyway. We're going to talk about our feature for the Dolphins, the current state of the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill. So, Steve, take it away for the Dolphins feature of the week.
All right, so thank you for joining us for the feature segment of the second annual Fins TV Awards. As you can see, we're joined by a large and esteemed Fins Nations panel. We've got very limited time to discuss here. I want to give everybody an opportunity to talk, so let's get into it. So for yet another year, we, as Dolphins fans, got a chance to watch a team not named the Miami Dolphins reach the pinnacle of sports fandom, a Super Bowl champion. We just endured yet another letdown season where our beloved Dolphins not only missed their goal of winning a playoff game, they missed the playoffs altogether. I think we could spend several episodes dedicated to this topic, and I think we actually have probably spent that much over the past 2 seasons. But since we all just watched the Super Bowl, here's some basic facts about the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. While they finished 11-6 in 2023, they lost 5 of their 6 regular season games to close it out before getting blown out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card round of the playoffs. And at the end of that 2023 season, where it was 11-6, they fired their coordinators the day after they lost that wild card game. A little bit more context about what we're talking about here in the feature segment is Tyreek Hill's comments following the Week 18 loss, whether they were justified or not, raised even more suspicions about the state of the Dolphins under Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel has this self-accountability. He's his own accountability coach. He's shown certain levels of hubris and when he's questioned about his team's direction, the leadership in the locker room, and whether or not they have what it takes to bring a Lombardi trophy back to Miami after more than half a century. So I'm going to throw this out here first. Brittney, I'm going to give you it first, and we'll go around the horn here. But you can talk about Mike McDaniel, Tyreek Hill, anything you want as we're talking about self-accountability, the culture in the locker room. But I'll throw this out as a main question. Do you think Mike McDaniel's style of self-accountability is effective to turn this team around and create a winning culture in Miami?
No. Short answer. I think that he tries to be everyone's friend first before he's a coach. And it's fun when we're doing touchdown celebrations and dances in the end zone and we're putting up 70 points and we're winning and we have big explosive plays. That's all fun and that's great. But, he always says adversity brings opportunity. And I think that he kind of loses the locker room when adversity comes, just because he tries to be their friend. And these are a bunch of grown men with egos, and you need somebody who's just an alpha to kind of put these men back in their place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's extremely good points. You see that where I don't want to say that it's obvious when I know, I'm sorry.
I know, it's okay.
I don't want to say that it's extremely obvious, but when you hear players call a coach by his first name, something about that just rubs me the wrong way. I can't imagine in the 1980s or 1990s having Coach Shula, anybody call him Don in a press conference. So it's extremely good points. And so thank you, Brittney. Sherry, the self-accountability or Tyreek Hill maybe being a little microcosm or an example of that type of thing. What do you think?
Well, no one would ever say that Don Shula was everybody's friend. He was the man. He was at the top of the food chain. And if you even got in his area where he was eating, you were put in your place. But he had the respect of everyone. And I think it's akin to when you have kids and you're trying to parent, and you either can be the friend parent or the parent that wants to make their kids the very best that they can be. And you know what that means? Sometimes they're not going to like you for it. But at the end, when they look back on what they've accomplished, they're going to know that push, what you're doing when you're taking control of the situation and you're not allowing the Tyreek Hills of the world to spit in your face without consequence, that's when you can come together and grow as a team. So if you're expecting players to come in there and manage themselves, there wouldn't be coaches if that was possible. There wouldn't be a tiered system of coordinators, coaches, everything. You would just have players going out and running amok. There has to be hierarchy, and in this hierarchy, there has to be respect. And if there's not respect, then it's always going to be a failure. And I'm not saying he has to be an a-hole to everyone and treat them poorly, but when they aren't doing what they're supposed to, there should be an immediate consequence and not a chain of, okay, next time, because when you let that happen, nothing changes. So, Sarney, I know you're there somewhere. Definition of insanity, as we say every time we get on this podcast, is doing the same thing and expecting different results. If Mike McDaniel doesn't change his approach very, very quickly this next season, then I can't imagine anything's any better, and it would be time to part ways, in my opinion.
Okay, so before I pass this off to Jake, yes or no, do you think Mike McDaniel's style or your interpretation of who he is has the ability to instill a culture that is different than what we've experienced?
Not from what I've seen so far. So unless he's going to flip a switch and change his approach, which he said he was going to at the end of last year, but words don't mean anything unless you put them into action. As he sits right now, no, I don't think he can lead this team to any kind of success. If he is able to look inside and internalize some of the problems that maybe could have been from the top down, do I think that everybody has the ability to learn? Yes. If he doesn't change, then no, he will not be leading our team to success.
Awesome. No, and you mentioned something that we had mentioned in the first bit of when we were talking about the leadership award. Difference between managing and leadership. You said managing. He needs to manage that type of thing. Head coach needs to be both of those. So you have to say he has to be the leader to set that type of example in terms of who he or she might be as a head coach of any team, but they have to be effective managers. So Jake, with that in mind, everything that we're seeing, everything we experienced through this year, how it ended with Tyreek and Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel sitting next to each other there at the table to talk to the media. What's your interpretation? Is this self-accountability model effective, and is there a way that it turns positive for the Dolphins?
So I want to start by saying I'm all on board with launching Tyreek Hill to the moon, and I completely understand where everyone is coming from with Mike McDaniel. I completely understand you haven't won a playoff game. So I'm not here to campaign that those things are wrong, but we are stuck with Mike McDaniel at least for one more year. So I'm going to try to blow some smoke here and kind of understand why the season ended the way it did and why we should have a little optimism moving forward. Dan Marino was with Mike Florio, Chris Sims on Pro Football Talk, I think it is, talking about how the Dolphins really failed to find their edge in the 2024 season. You BS a win against the Jaguars in week 1. Tua goes down in week 2. You lose 3 or 4 games for a bunch of different reasons. Tua comes back. The offense plays well. You still lose 2 straight games before figuring out anything. Tyreek Hill was just named the NFL Player of the Year. And for an athlete to continuously push them, again, I'm all on board with launching him to the moon. But I think in order to kind of feed your ego, and you feed them in good times and you feed them in bad, like this was a Dolphins team that had successes last year. And this was a team that was basically shunned for the first 10 weeks of the season. Just nobody was talking about them. So I feel what was happening this year, you just have people not caring. You have Jaylan Ramsey talking about, I know my worth. I understand my worth. I think what happened with this Dolphins team is because of a lot of different reasons, they were kind of pushed to be outcasts, a lot of struggles. You didn't have a lot of reasons to celebrate. So when you aren't able to celebrate, you aren't able to kind of see your efforts rewarded, you're going to say, screw it, I'm not going to practice. Screw it, I'm not going to play in a game or play hard, whatever it may be. Again, this doesn't make it right, but I can understand the process of the Dolphins never had a chance in 2024 to say like, all right, everything is coming together. We can look at that Rams game, sure, but you're losing games right before that. You're losing games right after that. They're like, we can argue about momentum, but this team never had any shot to gain any sort of momentum because of injuries, because of issues. So you wonder going into next year, if you get a big win in week 3, you pull off a 5-game streak where like Washington, the Giants, a couple of years ago, you're scoring 45 points. Forget the Denver game. You saw that momentum build. That we did not see in 2024. So let's hang up lists and give them a year, but I completely understand all the fears and the concerns that everyone else is preaching.
No, I mean, you bring up very good points, and you can't say it's one specific thing. I can't put it all on a head coach. I can't put it all on a GM, and I certainly can't put it all on Tyreek Hill. Thank you for bringing up the fact that, because I keep forgetting, he was voted by his peers as the number 1 player in the league, and then all of a sudden he gets almost cut in half with his output. Mm-hmm. And you see that frustration. It's understandable. But and I don't want to steal this. This isn't my talking time. But I see certain behaviors, certain things that come out. And then when he's talking to Kay Adams, I made it a point to go out and watch that this last weekend and took notes about what different observations. It's just one of those things. But as that star player, he needs to be married up to that coach. And if he's not married up to that coach, that type of dysfunction might exist. But, you got to wonder, where does that accountability lie? It's collective, but I don't know. I'm not too sure. But, Jake?
My fear with Tyreek going on the K Adams show is that what we know about Tyreek is he's only saying things if there's something to benefit himself. So this, I think, is a lot of putting out fires. I don't necessarily think he did a good job on the clip Sammy showed. I mean, these are little things and we're nitpicking, but it's February 11th and we're crazy Dolphin fans, so we're supposed to nitpick it. But like when he's like, oh, this is my apology to Tua, he's looking straight down. God forbid look at a camera. God forbid you look at somebody. You know, I'm sorry. It's a show. It's
okay.
A show.
He looked down at the ground and said very, very little uncomfortably after singing praises eye to eye with K. Adams about Mahomes. You know, gushing about everything great that Mahomes was, and then, you know, it was uncomfortable. So I agree with you.
Shouldn't have given him the contract extension, I think. That's kind of where we are right now. And I think that's kind of the way we'd have to deal with, though. I could see a scenario where this team, you know, you rip off 5 to start the beginning of next year. Everyone's feeling good, but then we're just waiting until you face that good team in December. And then, you know, then the conversation comes. That's what's frustrating. We can't really solve this conversation until some random Sunday in middle of December.
All certainly plausible. And you just wonder, you know, maybe if they don't pay that extension, they're ripping the Band-Aid off then and just realizing, you know, maybe October, November timeframe, we don't even have Tyreek around because he's checked out mentally. You know, obviously right. He's checked out mentally and he's, you know, running his Soul Runner store at the mall. And, you know, there's a reason behind that. But Jake, I appreciate it. Awesome input. I want to kick this over to the one and only who has joined us for the second annual Fins TV Award in our esteemed Fins Nation panel. The one and only Jason Sarney.
Hey, everybody. Great show. Thanks for having me. Sammy, this is production value. Incredible. A little Kenny Loggins action in the highlights. Oh, fantastic stuff. How are you, Steve, Shari, and everyone out there?
Great to see you, man.
Great to see you guys as well. So, Mike McDaniel, I don't think you could change the personality. If he would walk in and try to be the totalitarian dictator, I think there'll be a moment of silence and then eruption of laughter. And that's not to make fun of him. He is who he is. What we see, that's who he is, and that's what we're going to get for at least another year. As for Tyreek Hill, Jake, I love what you said. You're obviously looking at the nonverbal cues, the looking down, and in my world of pretty much putting everything on a Seinfeld scale, if everyone knows Seinfeld, remember the bit where, you know, you ask someone about the relationship and the area of the face where you're touching might mean a little implication of doubt. And Tyreek Hill, right off the bat, yeah, you know, I want to be here. So He was about an inch and a half away from being, I got to get out. So I don't know, everyone. I don't know. I mean, again, Seinfeld scale, take it with a grain of sea salt.
Okay, so we got Tyreek Hill, the dissection of K. Adams, the interview. Jake, I think you were alluding at this point before that it's that time of year where he's got to save face. He's got to look good. So Jason, kicking it back to you here, you're sitting in that hour-long exit interview. You know, how does Mike McDaniel, how does Jason Sarney putting himself in that seat, how are you handling that situation knowing that you need to be you still need a job after this year. You're not going to get fired as the head coach 8 games in because you just aren't, you know, changing anything. How are you going to handle that situation?
I'd go back to certain situations. I'd go back and ask him directly, hey, remember that Indianapolis game when you and Jaylan Waddle combined for like nothing? You guys were like laughing like you were just watching the Tom Brady roast. What was going on there? Then I would want to ask, you know, what was going on when you gave up on the team and Jaylan went back and said, hey, Cheetah, you know what? This is a Dolphins organization that if people have watched their film on it internally and seen what guys like a Bob Kuchenberg have done with stapling his arm back into a socket, or Dan Marino needing a ceramic leg essentially to play. I mean, this is also a problem with bringing in talent, because if you draft talent, you learn the culture. You know the culture. You're a Dolphin. You're a drafted Dolphin. You know the legend. You know the lore. So some of these injuries, I get. Football, trust me, I do. But we all have seen players play with a whole different range of injuries. I gotta tell you, recently some players who have played with some things they shouldn't have played on also but you need a toughness. And Tyreek Hill didn't exemplify that number one player in the league, captain style player. You got to be out there. You certainly can't quit on your fellow troops, whatever analogy you want to put. I would directly go to that game and say, how are you going to guarantee me that will never occur again? Or just tell me where you want to be and we'll try to make it happen. And let me rewind, back to the difference between McDaniel and a Don Shula. Don Shula would never have that. He would probably have traded it if he would have gotten what he wanted for him. Remember, famously, one of my favorite stories that I've ever heard any Dolphin say was Larry Zonka telling the story when he was upset that this was not a country club anymore. This is really hard. Trade me. And then Shula looked him in the face and says, I already tried to. Couldn't get anything for you. And that was Larry Zonka. So buck up, play ball, and frankly, if you don't want to be here, go somewhere else. And if that's facilitated, only if it's of value. And we all know what the market of Tyreek Hill should be when he's at peak. You can't discount a number one player in the league and someone you gave up future number ones and twos for. You got to get something very, 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 very close to even half of that, because we all know that those are years past that, he's not the same receiver as he was 3 years ago per se, but you can't trade a fourth and a sixth rounder as your compensation to get Tyreek out of town. It's got to be a top 30 some odd pick and more.
No. And I don't necessarily think they're going to get that. So, okay, pulling yourself out, you're no longer sitting at that table. You know that Mike McDaniel's there. And I think one of the biggest issues or problems that we have is we only see what we're being told. We only read what's made it into the media. So Mike McDaniel can say, yeah, we had a productive hour-long conversation. For all we know, it could have been 45 minutes of them just staring at each other, waiting for the first one to make the move. So we really don't know what was said. We don't know what the air was in that room as they're talking to each other. And you would hope that it would be something forceful like that. But do you think that Mike McDaniel in that room was as direct as he tried to make it sound like he was? And do you think that he has the ability to, when he shows up in OTAs, mini camp, training camp, and opening game of next year, that Mike McDaniel can be that person who he sounded like he was? Jason.
I mean, I don't think McDaniel is going to change his personality. I hope that he changes some of the nuances to his coaching abilities, such as maintenance of timeouts, flags, and there's got to be a bit more toughness to the practice in it. But I don't think he's going to change the personality. And, I just, for Tyreek, it's disappointing. It really, truly is. But I think we're going to find out in the free agency period and the draft just how serious they are about either riding with Tyreek or getting rid of him, because if they don't sign anybody, they don't draft a wide receiver, okay, it's a safe bet they're running it back with Tyreek, because outside of Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Malik Washington, everyone's a free agent, like every single one. So either you're bringing back bottom of the barrel 4s, 5s, and 6s, or you're drafting a guy and signing a guy. But if you're drafting a guy in the top 48, which is one of their first two picks, it might mean that they could be moving Tyreek Hill. So we're in we're on the turn of Texas Hold'em. We still got to see, the river. There's a little bit more that we need to see before making an answer of what's going to happen with this roster. And as for McDaniel, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I'm not saying I don't like the tricks. What we see is what we're going to continually get and how he runs his show. But I hope there's moderate tweaks to it, if that makes sense.
Nope, makes complete sense. Just got to see what we got going on here. All right, Matt. So let me just, give a little bit of context, because as much as I played football in high school against where Nick Sirianni's from, small town. It's not even Jamestown. It's even much smaller than that. That can't bring me around to him. I just don't like the guy, but I found myself looking into them after this year, after the Super Bowl, and I'm like, what's going on? And you hear a little snippet that he gave up his coordinating duties. And it made me wonder, because it's been one of those questions that I've personally had. And Matt, you're like, hey man, I'm going to trust him because I'm not one of those 32 people. But it brought me to this thing where Jonathan Gannon was talking about those moments, or when Nick Sirianni made that happen. and they were in the middle of a really crappy season. They were like 3-5 or something like that. And he said that Jonathan Gannon said he went into this meeting and said that, let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. What they said is Jonathan Gannon told him that he should give up play calling duties. And Nick Sirianni's first answer was, I can't do that. I'm going to look soft or weak, and I'm going to end up getting fired. And Jonathan Gannon's answer back to him was, we're all going to get fired anyway if we don't make this change. And I'm wondering, is anybody going to make that announcement to him? Because Nick Sirianni in that moment realized, and the results of it afterwards, that I'm going to be better as a head coach. My team's going to be better if I can focus on the team as a whole. So Mike McDaniel is 2 years in a row now has said, I'd gladly hand off play calling duties if I could find somebody that could do it better than me. Matt?
There's some legitimacy to that. Is there anybody else that can do it? I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody else that can do it. I am of the school that the head coach should be doing head coach duties, and there should be an offensive coordinator. I'm old school. Offense coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator. And the NFL has evolved to a point where there's outside receiver coaches and slot receiver coaches, and I'm being somewhat facetious, but there's so many working pieces on that sideline that I don't know how. I don't know Landry. I don't know if Shula could have kept it all together. The league has become so detail oriented. I don't know how he could possibly think that he can do the head coach job itself, which we see mistakes every week. It seems like every week, whether it's, I made a joke a few weeks ago about I will personally take a 85-inch TV, HD TV to every game just to be the guy to say, don't challenge that call, don't throw the red flag. And if you've ever been to the Dolphins stadium, there's 4 of those up on the screen. You can see it in real time. And not having been to every stadium in the league, I'm pretty sure they all have a big screen TV that you can look up and see, don't throw that flag. And inevitably he throws that flag. Is that good head coaching? I don't think so. And I don't know if that's because there's not a coordinator or a special coach that's on the sideline to get in his ear and say, keep the red flag in your pocket. As far as the coordinator responsibilities, there's a lot of shit going on in a NFL game. And it all happens inside of about 11 seconds. And then there's a reset, and then it all happens again. And in the meantime, you've got the other side of the field. They're trying to thwart what you're doing. How in the heck are you expected to be able to figure out what you want your offense to do when you're saddled with the actual responsibilities of being a head coach? So that's my long way of saying, dude, if there's somebody else out there that even has an inkling of how to run your offense, go get them. That's what coming into the office at 3:45 in the morning is about. Film time, watching video over and over and over again, teaching somebody to be able to run your offense, because this is your last season. And I know everybody wanted him fired. There's people in our chat here that wanted him gone his first year. There's no way he runs it back after another 8-9 or 9-8 season without a playoff win in 2025. So if you're going to run it back as you did your entire career as a Miami Dolphins head coach, I hope you've learned what your weaknesses are, because we see them. The fact that your team can't get to the line of scrimmage with plenty of time to call the play and get to the line of scrimmage without rushing through your signals and get a play off properly, that's a reflection of you. If you're the offensive coordinator, if you're the head coach, hey, buddy, you're wearing two hats. That's a reflection of you because those are things that you should have taken care of in minicamp in May, in training camp in July, before you ever snap the ball in the first preseason game or before you've ever snapped the ball in a joint practice with the Texans. Those are the things that you should have taken care of long before the very first game of the season. Um, I've gone off on a little bit of a rant here, which isn't normal for me, but you kind of poke the bear here. I want the Dolphins to win worse than anybody on this panel. I'm older than all of you. I saw the Dolphins win a Super Bowl. I was 5. Sue me. I've seen it. I know it can happen. I've seen them play in a Super Bowl. I've seen them get smoked in a Super Bowl. And I've seen them get smoked by the Bills in the AFC Championship game. I want my team to make the Super Bowl worse than anybody that can hear my voice. And the fact of the matter is that guy needs to either learn from his mistakes in the past or around October, November, we're going to be having conversations about who the new guy is.
Matt, outstanding points. And Sammy, I know we're close on time. I know we have some people in the hopper for the next segment. I want to get to Adrian, but Matt, just real quick, dead on. Before you even said it, I was like, the introspection, the week to week, the challenge flags, game after game of seeing defenders stop the same plays that just aren't working. And you're like, okay, well, he's going to learn. And then next week, the stuff happens again. And then year over year, the special teams coordinator bringing back Crossman for 2024, when in 2023, it was abysmal. And you're like, well, maybe he's going to turn around. He's like, we're actually going to be worse this year than we were the year before. So thank you, Matt. Outstanding points. I don't think you really realize, here's some self-introspection for you. You ramble a lot, but it's okay. I love you. I love your points. You're an amazing member of Fins TV and Fins Nation. Adrian, I want to give you your time here, brother.
All right, so we're gonna go with Mike McDaniel first. So Mike McDaniel, I think this is last year. He done regressed with the coaching. I'll be pretty quick. He done regressed with the coaching. And Tyreek Hill's comments at the end of the season, after that Jets game, I think you see that's happening, out there with the media in front of him. So what's happening behind closed doors, and who else is doing, that type of thing? His accountability, I mean, like the Mike McDaniel experience is probably over with. Like, too friendly, just not an alpha, not what you need when you coaching $1 million grown men who are literally work out every day of their life. You know what I'm saying? The testosterone pumping through that building. Mike McDaniel don't look like he look like he barely works out, man. Like just saying. So I will say this. I think this is last year. He could surprise us, and it could be better, but just what I've seen this year is the coaching is my most important point. Like, it has been it was terrible this year. The defense gave you a chance in almost every game, and the offense couldn't produce barely anything, man. So, and then Tyreek Hill, I mean, Jake said he ready to send him to the moon. I mean, if you could get something for him that's gonna pay off, then I would do it. It's just like the Jimmy Butler situation and with the Miami Heat. If you could get something for him that's gonna pay off, then do it. If not, he just signed an extension. He got to play this. Jimmy Butler this was his last year. Tyreek just signed the extension, so Tyreek got to play regardless if he wants to or not. But yeah, man, I just feel like keeping Anthony Weaver was a big, keep for us, and that's going to help us out a lot. Because if we have to, I don't think they will fire Mike McDaniel in the middle of the season, but if we have to, Anthony Weaver could take over, and I feel like he'll do a way better job of accountability. So,
all right. So a couple things here, Sammy. If you can bring back the whole panel, and I don't want to throw you off here. I don't know if you can bring Lou and Ashley in here because we're eating into their time. And I'd love to have just, at least for the last part of the vote here, if you have the ability. I don't want to mess with the layout that you had here. But a couple things. One, Eddie, I see him messaging over here, and then he's screaming into the chat, acknowledge me. So he forces me to go over to Twitter, and I realize that the Dolphins have brought in Bobby Slowick as their senior passing game coordinator from the Houston Texans. So I'm acknowledging you, Eddie. Thank you very much. Kosa, I love the fact that you threw out there that Coach McDaniel really only cares about his clothes, shades, and shoes, because our son sat here. He's an Eagles fan and celebrated. And when we brought up Mike McDaniel, he said, "You mean Coach sunglasses and Coach shoe tags?" It's just one of those things of like, he seems to care what he cares about. And our son, who doesn't care for the Dolphins, he's the older one, and he's a lost soul, but he's at least celebrating a championship right now. But I want to thank everybody from the Fins Nations panel here. Excellent dialogue. I know we've lost a couple people that didn't stick around with us, but did get a chance to contribute. This is really, I think we should have a full dedicated segment show to this, Sammy, sometime in the future, because we haven't complained and talked about it enough, but there are a lot of layers that we haven't peeled back. But Jason, Sherry, Jake, Matt, as always, Adrian, love you, brother. Thank you very much for contributing to this. And Sammy, I'm going to kick it back to you, brother.
Well, Sammy, hold on, because I'm going to leave the whole panel with this thought. How bad is it going to be when Mike McDaniel does just enough that we don't know, do we keep him now or do we get rid of him? Like, that is the worst little limbo. I want him to either poop the bed.
Sherry, what's just enough?
This is what it is, Adrian. For the golfers
in the playoff game,
for the golfers in the world, it's getting a birdie or two in your last couple holes of a round of golf, and that's winning very strongly in week 17 and 18.
No.
I truly think that if he's not one game removed from getting to a Super Bowl, so the definition of that is winning 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
So that will save him and say, you know what? Now we got something here. But if we're right back to what you said, Adrian,
gone.
What is
playing us off like it's the Academy Awards?
Yes, I am.
Yep.
Well,
all right, y'all.
Hey,
great season.
Adrian,
I apologize the afternoon to Ashley and Lou, because I knew that this story was going to be no way we were going to run on time this episode.
The power couple.
Only 5 minutes?
Well, it was. I was expecting more than that. Adrian, if you can stick up for the MVP award. We'll really appreciate it. We'll be at around 9:15, 9:20. If you can stay with us for the MVP.
I got you. Yeah. I'll be around.
Okay. Thank you very much. So
see you soon.
Guys, thank you. Brittney had to leave because she sent a private chat, but we appreciate her joining the panel. Jake, it's been great as always. You're killing it with House. Hey, our best to House on our podcast, and our friend Sarney is gonna stay for the MVP award as well as Sherry. So let's go,
Jake,
to the Defensive Player of the Year award.
What's up, brother?
Well, we have a live right now. Ashley, 305 Sports Babe, and my friend Lou from Dade from the 305 Sports Show. How you doing, guys?
Hey guys, good. How are you guys doing?
How are you, Steve? How are you, Sammy?
Great to meet you.
Flow Sports Show. I killed that. So, love it. Yes.
It's great being here. I just want to follow up with what the panel was just talking about. I agree with them wholeheartedly. McDaniels has to win at least 2 playoff games to keep his job, in my opinion. Anything less than that, he's gone.
Yeah, but Sherry brought up a great point to people what Sherry is saying. What's enough? What's enough for Mike McDaniel to save his job? Because that's what we're afraid of. He might have enough to stay, and with that vote of confidence, Stephen Ross gave him, and that contract extension, that he might do enough to save his job. So, in your opinion, let's keep the subject. In your opinion, what would be enough for Mike McDaniel to be fired? What would be enough for Mike McDaniel to save his job?
He needs to win a playoff game. It's been 24, 25 years. He has to have a proven record. I don't even care about the home game. Just win a playoff game.
Yeah, and I say it's 2 playoff games. I think it starts by winning the division. You're not only doing it against the Bills team that has won it the last several years. You're doing it against now the MVP of the league in Josh Allen. But we're going to have to win the division, get that home playoff game, and have to win a second one. We regressed big time this year. Partly because of Coach McDaniel, and so I think he's got to win 2 to keep his job.
Absolutely. I was talking to I think it was to Steve that I'm afraid that Mike McDaniel has not done enough to improve the coaching staff. And I've been saying this for a long, long time. And I see some of the pundits and so many people right now on FinStation that the Finishers' craziness is to keep doing the same thing over and over. And I say this to the longest times. This note that couple of years now, the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel keep doing the same things all over, the same mistakes all over. The lack of attention to detail, the same mistake, the time management. So for me, my expectations are not high. Mike McDaniel changing anytime soon. But again, that's the big question.
One of the things, and I know I keep going back to the Eagles here, but frankly, they deserve it. And I've had a lot to gripe against Nick Sirianni because just frankly, I think he's arrogant and everything. But again, when you peel back those layers and you're watching people talk about him and they have those open, candid conversations, and one of the things that hit me, and we've talked about this a lot, is can a coach change? And what somebody said about him is watching how much Nick Sirianni developed and how much he matured as a coach. Not since he was fired from his last job, but since he became the head coach, how much they observed that he's developed and matured just this year during the year. And that's one of those things that I've been pounding the table for, is just have that introspection, have that self-accountability to say, you know what, that's not working. I need to change these things. Who knows? Maybe bringing in this passing game coordinator, maybe that's just a little bit behind the scenes that we know that he's going to pass some of this stuff off. Maybe we're seeing it happen as we're having our second annual Fins TV Awards thing here, but you really hope to see that. But I just don't know if I've said before, I've never seen a head coach change in the middle of a tenure. Maybe prove me wrong.
Another coach, like, look at all the success Dan Campbell just in the last 2 years. I mean, what he's been doing up there. That's another one who, maybe got his roots down here and is just doing a tremendous job up there. So maybe you don't change in the middle of your tenure, but opportunity to grow.
And I agree with you, because a lot of times you see the coaches fail in their first time and then they take a few years off, go be a coordinator again, get that fresh air, and then they come back and they've realized during that hiatus, hey, you know what? I know what I did wrong. And they won't change and admit it in the middle of it. 100% correct. And to the point about Dan Campbell, you've always seen that humility in him, that he's like, I don't do this alone. I'm not a one-man show. And he went up there into that with that mindset and lucked into having one of the best offensive coordinators the league has seen in a long time. So,
no doubt, Steve. I'd like to add too. He comes from San Francisco, and he's supposed to be this offensive guru. And all of a sudden, San Francisco has Garoppolo go down, and Purdy comes in and win games. Purdy goes down; he's winning games with his name escapes me now, but Blaine Gabbert. He won games with Blaine Gabbert, as his backup quarterback. Meanwhile, McDaniel, has the plethora of starting quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks that ended up being starters. He can't win with any of them. Specifically with Skylar Thompson, who was in the system for 3 years, and he wasn't able to make that work either. So you start to wonder, was McDaniel this offensive guru, or was he a product of the San Francisco system? And he's showing now like that's the case.
Correct, 100%.
I always tell Steve that I believe that Mike McDaniel is a great play designer, but I'm not sure he's a great play caller, because every time he knows how to take the plays, but that situation and management, that time management, the decisions, the challenges. Oh my God, he
might be a great architect, but he's not the person out there actually putting it into use and seeing it get built up there.
Yep. Absolutely. So, but we're here for Defensive Player of the Year award. The Dolphins defense had some up and downs this year, so let's go straight to the nominees.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
The Fins TV Defensive Player of the Year award. Here are the nominees.
That's us right now, baby! Back against the wall! Who gets them? Time to attack! Time to attack!
Dolphins show a little pressure, and the handoff is to Trey Sermon and Calais Campbell, the veteran, into the backfield for a 2-yard loss. Annie, you okay? You okay? You okay, Annie? Annie, you okay? You okay? You okay, Annie? Annie, you okay? You okay? Anything yet? And a
sack. On top of it all, Chop Robinson back-to-back weeks for the rookie with a sack.
Going down. Madison is stopped. Sealed him up to seal the deal. You've been struck by a smooth criminal.
Again, the Dolphins saw last Sunday big fangio raise the Lombardi Trophy. That wasn't so much fun, but I think he did a great job, given the circumstances. The Dolphins lost Christian Wilkins, and it is what it is. Sean Elliott and so many others, but last year it was a co-winners of the Defensive Player Award for the Defensive Award. It was Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer won the award. So, what are your thoughts about the nominees? I want to start with Ashley. Ashley, what are your thoughts about the nominees for the Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, this is really tough for me because you have three caliber guys who had great seasons. Zach Sealer, obviously the salt without the pepper this year. He had 10 sacks this year, but he also had 10 sacks last year. Then you have a guy like Calais Campbell, who on the older side, 38 years of age, but stellar year and a true leader. And then you had Chop Robinson, came in our first round draft pick this year, and just an amazing year as well. So my personal pick was Zach Sealer, who I must add also got robbed from the Pro Bowl.
How about you, Lou? What are your thoughts about the nominees for the Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, same thing. I thought you guys nailed it right in the head by picking these three nominees here, all deserving. You had as Ashley mentioned, the veteran in Calais Campbell. You had the reigning winner from last year in Zach Sealer, and then you had the young, rookie that had to come in and play up the part with, the injuries to obviously Chubb ended up not playing at all, and Phillips goes down early in the season. He really had to grow up fast. Personally, I'm not going to lie, I was hoping Jared Verse fell to us, who ended up winning the Defensive Rookie of the Year on NFL Honors. But I just like his body type better and his athleticism. But credit to Chop Robinson, who, had 6 sacks in his last 11 games after kind of starting off slow, which was expected. All that being said, and I do want to also credit Calais Campbell and his leadership. Steve, you mentioned earlier how he was, the leader of the team and how he, was there at all times. He had the opportunity to walk away and maybe ask for an outright release to chase the Lombardi. He didn't do that. So credit to him as well. My vote went to Zach Sealer. He 10 sacks from a defensive tackle position in back-to-back years. That says a lot. What to me says the most is he missed 2 games, and one of them, the Arizona Cardinals game, which if he's playing that game, we probably win and we'll probably make the playoffs. So that's what it came down to me. And so I voted number 92, Zach Sealer, for the Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts, Steve, about the nominees for the Defensive Player of the Year award?
I think it says something, and I won't reveal my pick right now, but I think that it says something when our 3 nominees are all in the front 4. Call Chop Robinson an outside linebacker or a defensive end, whatever you want to call him. All 3 of them did not come from the defensive backfield, linebackers on back. So I think it's a little bit of an indictment. You could look at it as an indictment of how underwhelming that unit played. Clearly, we didn't get enough interceptions when our leading interception getter was a linebacker. Yes. But all credit, seriously, to all 3 of those players, because week in and week out, we were cheering them on as they were playing and dominating. So I'll let you show who won here, and then I'll have a little bit of a piece.
So let's go to the winner. You didn't say who was the winner, but I'm going to say it was the winner because it wasn't an anonymous vote. It was Zach Sealer, the winner of the Defensive Player of the Year. Well, guys, Zach Sealer, for sure, even after losing Christian Wilkins, so many other people say, oh, now that Christian Wilkins is gone, you're going to see a drop of Zach Sealer. That didn't happen. Zach Sealer rose above everything. The Defensive Player of the Year. And he was not a close vote. He was a unanimous winner for the Defensive Player of the Year. What are your thoughts, Ashley?
No, I mean, like I said, we didn't know what type of year he was going to have with losing his pepper, but he definitely rose to the occasion. 10 sacks this year, 10 sacks last year. I just really wish the season, even though we didn't make the playoffs, a good end to the season would have been seeing him in the Pro Bowl. His wife, Hannah, was very vocal about it as well. We pled the case, especially on Twitter, And, hopefully he continues to chug forward, especially with Anthony Weaver not coming back. We know he's going to come back. He didn't get the position over at New Orleans. And I'm excited to see what the healthy defense plus Zach Sealer gives us in the upcoming season.
How about you? What are your thoughts on Zach
Yeah. Yeah, same thing. I'm glad it was unanimous because really, he's a vocal leader as well. He does it all. The Dolphins essentially made a decision between Wilkins and Sealer, and it proved to be the right decision. And again, I'll mention the fact that he missed 2 games. One of them a huge loss to Arizona that pretty much kept us out of the playoffs. Again, that tells you everything you need to know. This guy's a true stud, a true leader, and he's going to come back hungry. As Ashley just mentioned, he didn't make the Pro Bowl. He wants that, and I'm excited to see him go for double-digit sacks for back-to-back-to-back years.
A three-peat.
A three-peat.
I know.
No three-peat for the Chiefs, but three-peats and back-to-back double-digit sacks.
We'll take that three-peat
for
all
Mr.
day.
92.
That's the kind of three-peat I like. What are your thoughts, Steve?
I like that. Ashley, you brought up his wife Hannah,
Yeah.
and it brought to mind it was second half of the season, and somebody in social media posted out there about how underrated he is or how under the radar is, because we've been saying for years as to how he's the most underrated defender, and her comment was, when are we going to stop calling Zach underrated?
Yes.
It was a phenomenal point because year after year after year he has shown up, and he doesn't stop. We all had that question. Is he going to drop off when Wilkins is gone? Thank goodness, again, we brought Calais Campbell in here, but not having Bradley Chubb the whole year, losing Jaylan Phillips didn't set him back. It was exciting to see that. Whatever his motivation is, I don't even know if he's going to be motivated. I don't think he needs the motivation of saying, I didn't make the Pro Bowl, it's a snub. I have the faith in that he's going to still go out there because he has the Zach Sealer standard for what he delivers, and he's selfless. He doesn't care if he's helping somebody else do it or if he's going to be in there doing it. He just gets the job done. So 100%. Clearly it was unanimous, Sammy, but I voted for him. It wasn't even a question for me.
Absolutely. Well, I met with Lou during the fan weekend and had a great couple of minutes talking to him. I talked to him about joining Fins TV for a show all season long, season camp, but it was so fast that we didn't have the opportunity. So I'm pretty appreciative that you guys had time to join us for the future. Hopefully you join us next year for the Pick and League. We had a Pick and League champion, so hopefully Ashley join us this season for the Pick and League, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of the season. I appreciate you guys very much. You're doing a great job. Where they can find you on social media and what you're doing with your show, the Software Pro Show.
Yeah, no, 305 Sports Babe. You can find me on all social medias. My husband Luke from Dade on X. We have our show, the SoFlo Sports Shows, and we also own 305 Sports Travel. So a little bit of everything around.
Yeah, and I just want to give thanks to the panel. You guys at Fins TV do a great job. Everybody in here, we all share the same passion for our beloved football team, even though they don't respond to our favor. But one of these days, one of these years, they will come through. And again, we're the real, fans and winners here for supporting this team for all the lack of success that they put on for us, unfortunately.
The drama.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's never a lack of drama with us. We always find some way to do it. But it was fantastic to meet both of you. Thank you for taking the time to meet us. Ashley, both of you, I live vicariously through the travels that you guys take all year long going to all these games. Keep it up. Keep up the success with your show and stay safe. Fins up, and looking forward to seeing you back here.
Thank you guys. Have a great off season. We'll
Thank
soon.
you. Fins up. Thank you. So next we're gonna go to the main event of the evening, the MVP award. We had a huge voting panel. Matt Bruno, the official team of all the Dolphins, Freddie and the band had a good vote. We want to thank them. Of course, Armando Salguero always helped us with the show. An all-pro NAP board, part of the panel of the MVP Awards. Of course, our friends Tiff, Sarney, and Brittney Phinatic, part of the voting panel. These are on the shows that I did. Stanley and Frankie Frezko is the voting panel also. Our friends House and Dick Mendel from our Little Rocket podcast. We want to thank House for making the panel again this year. our friend Adrian Rainey and the controversial Chaput doing the winning final as well. We saw him right now just a couple of seconds ago. Group on Dade and the group of five for Dade Ashley. Tiff Tower third and Dolph also part of the panel. The ladies well represented. Lisa Siegel, Dolphins fan of the year, and Brittney. Bobby Finstock, he's everywhere, so many shows, and Stephen D. Daniels also voted for the panel. And of course, the Fins TV crew. Shari Hannon. I want to say also, McDuffie voted, but his vote came a little bit late, so the votes were locked in. It would not change any of the words, so that's comforting. So I want to welcome back, of course, the Fins TV crew of Shari Hallett, my answer, of course, my co-host Steve Hallett, and of course, my friend Jason Sarney and Adrian Rainey. Guys, it's the main event of the evening. Is the MVP award. Last year, Tua won the MVP award. Of course, he didn't have such a great season that he hurt. It was such a different season. The offense didn't show up as we expected. So a different, a different way to present the MVP award season. So I wanna go straight to the nominees, and we're gonna talk about a little bit more about the MVP award.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
The Fins TV Most Valuable Player of the Year Award. Here are the nominees.
Live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
The Fins TV Most Valuable Player of the Year Award. Here are the nominees.
Underneath into the backfield, Achane into the end zone, and the ball snaps. Achane explodes inside the 25, spins inside the 20, stick off to the 10. Miami football. And it's Zach Sealer. No helmet, no problem. Deflected, intercepted, Sealer. Here they come, down he goes. Rodgers hit by Sealer. Third and 10.
I gotta say, spoiler alert, this vote was decided, the MVP award was decided by just one vote. So it was a very, very close vote. Of course, the nominees, Tua Tagovailoa, again, he got hurt, but he has some time to, it was even mentioned as also, he was playing to MVP quality. Zach Sealer, such a great campaign. The lack of Crystal Williams on the other side, but he found a way to get some sacks in the season. Of course, the Achane, that even with a bad offensive line and they keep pounding into their own wall, the Achane finds so many ways to contribute to the offensive season. So, what was the team? What are your thoughts on the 2024-2025 MVP nominees?
Well, before I get into the nominees, and I want to pass it off to Jason here because I know that he's had very little screen time, and I'd love to give Jason as much as we possibly can. But I think that the NFL's vote this year for MVP really raises that debate, and it's what is the true definition of most valuable player? What is the value You know, it's a beauty versus non-beauty, trash versus treasure, value versus not valuable. It's up to the what's supposed to be an unbiased opinion in the voting for it, and you realize that it really isn't, because frankly, somebody who won it this year wasn't the first team All-Pro at his position and had inferior stats. So I think that's what's great about this, and especially with the big diverse panel of voters that we had, there's a whole wide, it's not just the four of us regulars from Fins TV sitting here throwing our opinion out there. It gives different viewpoints, and even within my household, you get a 50-50 coin flip, and Sherry and I pick somebody totally different. So I think it's interesting to see that, and I want to hear Jason's input on the nominees and hear some other diverse input versus what I've got in my little echo chamber.
Yeah, in terms of the nominees, they all make sense in terms of your definition, Steve. You take away your quarterback. We saw what happened when you take away Tua Tagovailoa. You take away a nominee like a Devon Achane. I don't know what this offense would have looked like without him. But the funny thing is, when Tua was out, Achane was not used at all as he's used with Tua. So if Tua was on the field those 5 other games, Achane mathematically would have had 100 catches. Mathematically. He averaged 2.2 targets, 1.2 receptions. Without Tua, he was racking off 7 targets, 5-6 catches a game with Tua. So those two guys together, they're extremely valuable. But to me, if you look at heart, soul, production, value, captainship, leadership, your best availability is the ability to be on the field. And I don't think we've seen much mistake from the winner here in the Fins TV MVP award. So Zach Sealer, no one's more deserving of accolades. And to play off of Hannah Sealer, listen, he should not, and I would understand why there's an offense taken in the Steeler household if anyone uses the underrated. Forget the under. I mean, this guy is so good, and so good in the relative short amount of time he's been a Dolphin. Here's some history for you guys. Zach Sealer, if Lou and Ashley are correct and he gets a 3rd straight 10-sack season, that will put him at 40. Which would put him in the top 8 in the Dolphins' history of overall sacks. He would be the quickest or second quickest to get there next to Trace Armstrong. He'd do it in 102 games if it took him a full season. Took Manny Fernandez from the interior 103 games to get 35 sacks. And Zach Sealer is the only Miami Dolphin interior defensive lineman in history with 30 sacks and an interception return for a touchdown. No one else could say that from the interior position.
Trace Armstrong, number 93, that's a blast from the past.
Oh, yeah. When Armstrong came here, he had a few-year run that was probably one of the best sack master 3-4 year runs next to your Wakes, your Jason Taylors, your Stanfields. So, to be in the same category as the top 8 overall defensive players, you're looking at Jason Taylor, Cam Wake, Bill Stanfield, Vern Den Herter, Doug Betters, Jeff Cross, Trace Armstrong, and 10 sacks away, Zach Sealer.
Absolutely. Sherry, again, a disappointing season, but nonetheless, the Dolphins need to have an MVP. So, what are your thoughts between the nominees? What are your thoughts on the nominees for the MVP award?
First of all, my husband mentioned that we voted differently. It was the only vote we cast that was not the same. We did not collaborate. We did them separately and then compared afterward, and it was the only one. I was torn between 2 players, and what the pushover for me was, or the impetus for me to make my final decision was, and I can tell you I voted for Sealer, and my choice was between Achane and Sealer, and I realized that even in Achane's vote for offensive player, I had a great argument for Jonnu, and it wasn't like I felt Achane ran away with it. So I thought if I was wavering between Jonnu Smith and Achane for the offensive MVP, how am I not picking Sealer for defense, because I didn't waver on him at all. So my MVP overall is Sealer, because also if you are not in the game, you are not valuable. And I understand the definition, as my husband said, which is what happens when you're not there. If Sua's not there, you're terrible. But if you're the most valuable player, you are also making decisions to keep yourself on the field and to contribute to your team. And that is where Tua didn't even have a thought from me because I don't feel like he played this year that way. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but I do feel like some of the decisions he made were not based in the overall picture. So it was close for me between Achane and Sealer, but once I rationalized it, it wasn't close at all. And I'm so happy. I hope Sealer won. I know we're all speaking like he did, and I know it was only one vote, so we don't know when we'll find out, but I'm curious to see what Matt has to say.
You're gonna find soon enough. So, Matt, I'm gonna go to you next before I go to Adrian. Matt, again, the Dolphins. This was not the season we expected. We had I had low expectations, but still, they went even under my expectations. Tua getting hurt again, and of course, Sealer wrote about everything else, even like using Christian Wilkins and Devon Achane had a new dimension to this game, but yet the running game for Devon Achane wasn't what we expected because the defensive line was at times so poorly in the run game. What are one of the thoughts about the nominees for the MVP award for the 2025 season?
You had sent me the request to give my picks for each of the picks, and I was on a flight and trying to. To me, it was obvious as to who the MVP of the Dolphins was in 2024, but I was sitting there on the flight trying to think, what was the other guy's name that played next to him? And this is a true story. I sat there on this flight dumbfounded. I could not remember Christian Wilkins' name. And I remember the angst that was all over. Let me take a step back. I remember when the Dolphins drafted him, there's actually a video of me and Steve. It was when I saw you in Clearwater. Me and the guys were all together, and somebody was videoing me when they announced the Dolphins pick, and I was like, "Oh, that's an awesome pick. That's great. That guy's great." I was very excited and hopeful that he would be everything that he could possibly be. And then there was so much angst before the 2024 season. Will they sign him? They had a chance to sign him. He didn't sign. He went to the Raiders, fired Greer, all of this. And now I'm wondering if Wilkins owes Sealer money because Sealer still went out there and got 10 sacks without Christian Wilkins, with a 37-year-old guy next to him, with a 21st pick in the draft, on one end or the other, with two defensive ends or outside linebackers, whatever you want to call Chubb and Phillips, on IR. Like, he still went out and did that. And I love the line, when are we going to stop calling him underrated? I think about when he appeared. I think about, holy cow, who found this guy? Like, this is one of those free agent signings that works out and maybe pulls off a 3-game stretch where he's great and the fan base is awesome, and then he disappears. Right? He had his time in the sun, and now it's over with. Sarney's always coming with facts, and that's incredible. If he gets another 10-sack season, he's in the top 8 all-time Dolphins sack leaders. Is that what you said, Jason?
Correct. He'd leapfrog the great Kim Bokamper. He would be number 8 by a half a sack if he would get on up to 40. Bokamper's listed at 39.5. I think the Dolphins listed him at 40. So at the very worst, he could be tied for 8th. So, but the remarkable thing is the games. If he gets to the last game of the season, plays all 17 games, that'll get him to 102. Everyone outside of Trace Armstrong is above that mark, and Manny Fernandez is the closest at 103.
But by the way, Manny Fernandez, his playing weight was like 240. I'm exaggerating slightly. I think it was 275. But that's just incredible. Zach Sealer was my choice for MVP with the Dolphins in 2024.
Before I go to Adrian, we almost had Dolphins great Ollie McDuffie join. He joined the panel, but the voting committee. But we wanted to have him for the award. But he had a previous engagement with his wife at a concert. I was hoping so much for the Ollie McDuffie, Ollie McFluffy meetup to the festival.
That'd have been great.
We're gonna do
That would be epic.
during next season.
Taylor Danny, so
yes,
That would be a great crossover.
That has to happen. That will happen. He said will join us in a later day, so hopefully OJ McDuffie and OJ McFluffy meet up.
That's awesome.
Adrian, again, the season wasn't what we expected. What we were hoping the best, but all of the nominees had great moments. All of them got hurt at one part of the season. But I want to know your thoughts about the nominees for the Dolphins Fins TV 2024-2025 MVP award.
Love the nominees. 2 are well deserved. 2 didn't play enough, although we all pretty much know Tua is probably our most valuable player, because if he don't play, our team doesn't go, other than, offensively, I would say. But I will say Zach Sealer had a great year, 10 sacks, killed it. Run game and pass game. He was dominant. Him and Calais, dynamic duo, just like him and Christian was. Not as much production from Calais as Christian, but still they dominated. Our defense did great. I do think I picked Achane because I think Achane, without Achane, we don't win probably half of the games that we won, just because they had him doing everything. He was our offense. Him and Jonnu were our offense. And you probably could put Jonnu up for this too, just because his production. But without those 2, I don't think we win half the games, especially Achane, what he's done this year. And then, yeah, man. So I think I do think Zach Taylor deserved it, definitely. But I think our defense he had a lot of help, like Jordan Brooks. Jordan Brooks probably could have been nominated for the Defensive Player of the Year also.
Yeah.
So, but I think he had a lot of help. I don't think Achane had a lot of help. That was our whole offense this year. So I gave it to Achane.
Absolutely. The difference was 1 vote. There was 1 write-in vote. I'm not going to say who it was or who it was, but I'm not going to say either that was the deciding factor. That's for me to know. Maybe I'll share it with Steve. But let's go to the winner of the Fins TV
Drum roll
award, and the winner. It's Zach Sealer. Zach Sealer, the Fins TV Miami Dolphins MVP for the season. Let me find where there it is. That's right. Zach Sealer was the winner. I'm not gonna say if that write-in vote was the deciding factor, but the decision was the difference was 1 vote. So Zach Sealer, the Fins TV MVP award. What are your thoughts, Steve?
All right, so I did not vote for Zach. Clearly, just give me a moment here, Adrian. So clearly, you know that my wife and I differed in this, Matt. I don't have power to mute. I'll just ignore you. So I voted for Tua. And here's why, because my definition of the word valuable is exactly what it is. There's a difference, in my opinion, between what the word valuable means and outstanding. When I was in high school, I played my senior year of football. We had the offensive, defensive MVPs, and then there was a special trophy, and it was by definition the most outstanding and valuable player to the team, and that went to somebody. I got the offensive as like 158-pound running back, and figure that one out. That's how bad of a team we were. But if you have $100, based off of what you can get with that, what that is. If paying tribute to our son, you know, he has Pokemon cards, and if he has a certain Pokemon card, he knows what he can get for that in trade. If you don't have that $100, you don't have that Pokemon card, you don't have it. So my definition was we had a very good idea, less this year than the year before, of what our team was with that valuable player being Tua. We knew what it was without him, and we've learned that over the past 3 years, what it's like with him and what it is without him. So that's why I voted for Tua, but it wasn't just a cut and dry thing, because I did juggle between Zach Sealer and not, and I also went to the route of I didn't want the same player being named twice, but I'm in the minority. I'm interested to see who was the close second here, but Zach Sealer earned it. He had, in my opinion, definitely the most outstanding season, especially considering all the other factors that everybody has talked about with the losing of Christian Wilkins, that everybody had that question that he answered in a resounding way.
Absolutely. I would love for the people who are we have over 400 on platform watching the show right now. Drop in the chat who would you vote for the two nominees for the MVP. I'm gonna 70% that Zach Sealer got 38% of the vote, Devon Achane 33% of the vote, Tua 24% of the vote, and the writing vote got 5%.
Who is the player? Who is the write-in?
Yeah.
If you guess, I'm gonna tell you. You get one guess, and only Jason, because I'm not gonna.
Jonnu Smith. I was gonna say Jonnu Smith.
I would say Jonnu. Really?
Oh wow. Jordan Brooks.
So basically,
Calais Campbell.
Nope.
So
all right, I won't go more than two.
Snowflake better not have been Tyreek Hill.
I need to make sure I got this right. Number one, Adrian made a compelling argument for Achane that I never considered when I made my choice, and I appreciate you doing that, Adrian. And number two, Steve just said that he was the Christian McCaffrey of New York football when he played football, basically. I've never met anybody who was more like Christian McCaffrey. That's who Steve claims he is now. And Sherry, you're married to an NFL All-Pro. So
I can't play the harmonica that well.
Though, because have you ever seen Christian McCaffrey's wife, dude? Her girlfriend or fiance? Steve got the short end of that stick.
Anyways, I just wanted to poke some fun at Steve.
I appreciate it, Matt.
I do it for
Steve,
you too.
before I go to Jason, you have an idea who could have been that vote?
Jordan Poyer. I'm kidding. No, I have no idea.
No.
I'm kidding. I really have no clue.
Jason, what are your thoughts about the election of Zach Sealer of the Miami Dolphins MVP of Phinside Awards?
I'm going to take one more guess. Was it Jalen Ramsey?
Nope.
Oh, come on. Well, it was the right guy who won it in Sealer because, again, Steve, I agree with you. I agree that the definition of a most valuable player ultimately is if you extract that player, what does your team look like? I get that. But for this show's purposes, I wanted to use the outstanding. I'm using the word outstanding.
I appreciate that.
I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with you. I've always said the term most valuable is what happens when you take that player out. But maybe Tua could have gotten 2 more games in there. That's neither here nor there. So, but Sealer, his production plus leadership plus doing it without the Christian Wilkins, him repeating, him being the 1A, not the 1B. And if Calais comes back, he'll come back at a 50-60% snap count. If he doesn't come back and Sealer does this with a rookie, a free agent signing, then there will be riots if this man is not elected to either a Pro Bowl.
I don't want Pro Bowl. I want All Pro.
I agree with you.
Pro Bowl's popularity vote. That's it. Really.
Correct. He is probably a top 3 at worst interior defensive tackle. The whole aspect of the game, because he is just an absolute football player. So deserving and 29 years old, guys. I mean, he's still got a lot of football left in the tank. And this is a guy who I wouldn't be surprised if they extend him yet again, because this is a man who you do never, ever want to see in another uniform. So I would hope they make sure he's staying around for another 5 years.
Well, if Chris Greer is our GM for any much longer, then he will probably be playing for another team by the end of his career. Trust me.
Yikes.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I did say, just to go on a little sidebar, a lot of people give Chris Greer flack, and I guess a lot of it is deserving. The worst flack is giving up on a player saying nah, or passing on a player and saying I like my guy better. I mean, if you want to run down the list of people he's passed on in the draft, it's not pretty. And of course, we all know the people who he has let walk out the building and said, you know what, I value you here. But then when players then become all pros, that's a bad miss. You could definitely make bombs. It doesn't kill your career, but passing on too many hits, that is what can kill a career in talent evaluation.
Most recent, Andrew Van Ginkel.
I wasn't going to say the name. I wasn't going to say the name.
That was a tough one.
That was probably one of the most egregious.
To be honest, that could have happened.
Go ahead, Sammy.
No, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. It was different circumstances, and I want to make this very clear. Yeah. This was extremely different circumstances than like the Dolphins saying goodbye to Jason Taylor way back when, twice. One of them was the Dolphins' fault, for sure. But the statistical season that Van Ginkel put up was one of which never happened in the league before, other than Jason Taylor, with his interception returns for touchdowns, sack production, everything. So it's very ironic to me that two people in the NFL ever had the kind of season that Andrew had. So did Jason. And go back, if you don't know the history, it wasn't Jason leaving the first time. It was... Anyway.
I'm right there with you.
If anybody wants the definition of go do the homework.
And the reports were that the only reason Van Ginkel stayed last season was because a big fangio wanted him back. So that's that.
And
again,
one more point. You know what would have been amazing if what Chris Greer did last offseason when he gave him the 1 year show me deal? Said, you know what? You don't have to show me anything. Here's a 3-year deal.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Steve, any last thoughts on the MVP award for?
No, I don't have any more thoughts. I just want to give credit first and always. Kosa, you are our YouTube channel MVP. You have been here through thick and thin every single week participating. We appreciate you. So here's your shout out. Thank you to all of our panelists. Adrian met you this year. You've been consistent throughout. We appreciate you. Jason, always love you. Thank you for coming back around, man. Thank you for working through all the crap, being positive, being who you are to us. Matt, you are my brother. I love you. We poke fun. You and me, man, and my wife. I love you. Sammy, you make this show go round. This production is absolutely second to none for anybody that does not get paid. This is not monetized. This is absolutely stellar work. I appreciate it.
I'm getting paid.
Matt's getting paid.
I'm getting paid.
What?
I'm getting paid.
Matt's getting paid.
Mother!
You're getting paid, Steve?
Well, Jason, before where they can find you right now, you're all over the place, right? So, where can they find you on your social media, Jason?
Jason_Sarney at Twitter, and doing a lot of draft stuff now. We all love draft stuff. That's Dolphins fans over at Dolphins Wire. So that's where I'm at right now.
Absolutely. How are you, Adrian? Where you can find you on social media and the Rainy Day Pod?
Rainy Day Pod on YouTube, at Rainy Day Pod, and at Rainy Day Pod on all socials. So, hey, man, I just want to say I appreciate y'all, man, for real. This was a great year, like, meeting everybody. And, you know what I'm saying? I love coming on. I always have a great time. And, I just appreciate y'all. So, good times always.
I'm going to ask everybody to please, one favor, go to YouTube, subscribe to YouTube. YouTube.com /@FinsTV_ on YouTube. Please go subscribe. Guys, thank you very much. All the panelists, all the committee voters, from Mando Salguero to Oye McDuffie to you guys. So I appreciate you all very, very much. Well, we're probably going to be back again for our second annual Dolphins free agency clusterfuck Armageddon extravaganza on March 18.
That's our one. We can stay on Disney.
I didn't
Just
say
that
one, Steve.
Damn it! I lost my money. You win.
Clusterfuck Armageddon Extravaganza on March 18th. So thank you guys. Again, appreciate you all. Please go to YouTube. Please subscribe. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Adrian. Matt, your check is in the mail. Sherry, Grace always, and my co-host, Phinatic. Thank you very much. Everybody will join us today. Thank you. As always, remember when you stay in Miami, you always, no matter what, you're talking Super Bowl.
What's up, y'all?
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe. Fins up.